Hello, winners, and welcome for Two for the Win with your hosts, Nick and Wil. We share international insights on mindset and leadership on Monday Mindset, travel and the travel agency on Wanderlust Wednesdays, and Fanatic Friday, which is sports, which is what we'll be chatting about today. You can expect each episode to be about 20 to 30 minutes in length. And please make sure you subscribe, follow, and share us on all the major platforms from Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and more.
Happy Friday, Nick.
Happy Friday, Wil.
So I just wanted to share before we jump into our podcast, listeners, we're recording this before Hurricane Milton hit. We hope this podcast finds all of you safe, especially those of you in Florida. And we wanted to let you know in our link in description, we set up a link to donate to the Red Cross to help people who are affected from Hurricane Milton with relief. And hopefully everyone made the proper plans and accommodations and followed the evacuation procedures. And again, we hope all of you and your loved ones are safe, and we'll get through this together like we always do here in Florida when these storms hit.
Absolutely. No, that's the most important is the safety of everybody. Take care of your family. And we just hope that a time of this podcast will be released on Friday, that everybody are safe and that you can put your mind out of, what just happened for 25, 30 minutes by listening to our podcast. But if we can help in any way, let us know. And we're happy to see what we can do.
Yep. No, thank you. Well said, Nick. So with this, hopefully adding a little levity to your day, we're going to jump into first NCAA football. Huge weekend up ahead. Obviously, our listeners know if they've been viewing or listening, you're a huge Longhorns fan. And I think there's kind of a big game they have this weekend. You want to talk a little bit more about it since it's near and dear to your heart?
Absolutely. The game against Oklahoma, it's always the game of the year for us. So that's the game that we always said if we win one game all season, that's the game we want to win. Unfortunately, the last 15 years, we only won 4 or 5 times of 4 or 5 of those games. So we really believe that this year it's our year, based on, the kind of player we have, the coaching staff, the kind of way we play since the beginning. We come out of a bye as well, or you as well. So we both will be ready for it, for the Red River Rivalry. So that's what it's all about. So I'm looking forward, 3:30 Eastern time. I will be watching. That's for sure.
So I don't need to ask for a prediction of who do you think is going to win, because I know you're going to pick. How about we have a little fun and give me the final score?
Okay, I think we win by 21. I would say something like 42-21.
Okay, there it is. You heard it here first, everyone. So 42-21 Texas. We shall see against the Red River Rivalry. That is a huge game. Another game that may fall a little bit under the radar for some of our winners, our listeners, but I know you and I talked a little bit about it, is Penn State visiting USC. New Big Ten matchup with USC joining the Big Ten. Penn State, number 4 in the country. USC, they have talent. It's just a matter of they can put it together. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, USC just came up short last weekend, so that they will be motivated to fix it. And Penn State, it's the same story every year. They win the game they're supposed to win, and they lose the big games. So I don't know if we can call this one a huge game like a Michigan or Ohio State game that they usually lose every year. But I think that's definitely a good step for them to prove their worth. The coach said beginning of the year that he believed that this year will be different. So I think that's the first big, step for them to beat USC at USC. So that's definitely something I'm going to have close eye on as well. And thank God I can watch all of them in my sport book, my personal sport book at the house.
When I lived in Vegas, I had a close friend we used to go to the Rose Bowl for UCLA games, and then we saw a couple of games at the Coliseum in USC. What some people may not know is when you walk in for USC. USC is right in downtown LA. So it's just as urban as you can get. It's not like some of these campuses that are out in a nice grassy area. Even Rose Bowl, Pasadena, it's I wouldn't call that urban per se. It's definitely more small town feel. But when you walk through, they have these massive like roses and everything. You would think it would be at the Rose Bowl, but they actually had them at the Coliseum. I remember seeing it. And you walk through the whole campus to get to the stadium. And it was the first time I got to see Will Ferrell live in person. So my friend, he used to get great seats. I think we were like 20 rows up or something. Will Ferrell was on the field with his Trojan helmet. And it was back when Joey Harrington was playing at Oregon, if you remember that name. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting to see. So got to see.
You said the first time you met him multi times?
Yeah, I was at the Coliseum twice.
And you met Will Ferrell twice?
No, just the one time.
Yeah, so you're right. That's definitely a game that will be interesting. But for me, and I think for most people, the big game of the weekend will definitely be the game between Oregon and Ohio State.
Number 2 against number 3.
No, it's going to be very, very interesting. Is Oregon able to actually make the first big move after moving from Pac-12 to Big Ten? So that's going to be very interesting. A lot of people picked both of them to go to the Final Four at the end of the year. So that's going to be a huge step, I think, more for Ohio State than anything else, because, if Oregon win that game, they have a easier schedule than Ohio State moving forward, I think. So it's going to be very interesting game to follow. It should be explosive.
Take the over, like Gabriel and James for Oregon. I mean, Gabriel has over 1,400 yards passing already. James has over 552 yards rushing on 88 attempts. So he's averaging almost 7 yards a carry. It's going to be a lot of offense. That's for sure. So any thoughts? Who do you think's going to take it down?
I would go with the home team. So I would go with Oregon. An upset win. But anything is possible in that. That's not a game I would put money on.
No. But I do think Ohio State wins. I just think Oregon's a little bit like Penn State. Like, more often than not, they just don't deliver on the big games. They have great years, but when they get to the big game, I don't know. They seem to come up short more often than not. So we'll see.
It's going to be a very interesting game. I think that's a game to watch, definitely.
And then you have Ole Miss and LSU in the Bayou.
Talking about a big offensive game, this is going to be fireworks. Also, a game will be like going over, that's for sure. So this is another, I think looking at the schedule across the whole season in NCAA, this is the best weekend. This is the weekend you don't want to leave. You don't want to go anywhere. You just want to have the barbecue ready and just binge watch game all day long. You will not have an hour during the day without something great happening, I believe. So that's definitely a game that will be very interesting, not on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, it's going to be crazy. So I'm definitely looking forward for that game as well. Absolutely. And then the last game that go a little bit under the radar because of all the other big game that's happening, it's definitely Colorado. Colorado playing Kansas State. Kansas State being top 20 currently in the country. I have it in front of me somewhere, but I believe they are.
Kansas State is 18.
18, yeah. So they are top 20, and Colorado, that's, a lot of people thought, okay, they're not going to do anything this year other than Hunter and Sanders. There's not much there. But they had a couple of very good wins. Definitely UCF last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, when they went over there and beat them, shalam them completely against all odds. I think now it's going to be interesting after a bye week. What can, prime time do with the team to prepare them to play against a top 20 team? If Colorado, which I don't pick them to win, but if Colorado would win that game, I think that would put them back on the map seriously. But now the quarterback of Kansas State is pretty phenomenal. So I think Kansas State is going to take this one. But hey, we never know. It's football, and that's why we love it. So this game is late on Saturday. So literally from 12 to 12 on Saturday will be a very exciting football day.
Torn on this game because Kansas State, I'm not sure if this person's a listener or not. I suppose we'll find out after I say what I'm about to say. So we have a colleague that her father used to be the defensive coordinator at Kansas State. And so I usually will send a note like a few times during the college football season. And the reason why, so, obviously I know that her family's history with that university. And so, I pay closer attention to it than what I would otherwise. The second reason is because one of the best Green Bay Packer wide receivers in the 2000s was Jordy Nelson, who came from Kansas State and a recent Packer Hall of Fame inductee. So there's a soft spot for Kansas State for those two reasons that I have. But then how I feel about Colorado and prime time, Shakur Sanders, leaders and dogs, the whole thing. I'm all in on that stuff. I love it. I can eat it up. And I just love the swagger. Like, I know it for prime time irritates people, and he does some weird stuff with the, with the announcers. And I mean, prime time loves him some prime time. There's no doubt about it. But man, I just love the mindset, and they're playing at home. Both teams are 4-1. Hunter is a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. Could be record setting since Michigan when Charles Woodson won it for being defensive and special teams. Hunter, defense and offense. I think you're right, though. I think K-State wins it, but I have to say, if Colorado wins, it's like bringing back the U. Like, that kind of swag, like, Dion will be insufferable. And I want it. I want to see it.
I totally agree with you. It's gonna be fun to watch, or it's gonna be a blowout. I think it's gonna be one or the other. Or
I agree.
Very, very tight game, or it's gonna be a blowout from K-State from the start. I don't see the opposite. No, I was wrong 2 weeks ago. I thought that UCF was gonna destroy Colorado, and I was completely wrong. So who knows? It would not be the first or the last time I would be wrong about a sports, prediction,
But you couldn't get more polar opposite on styles. K-State, homegrown, a lot of ways. They just go out and play ball, right? And then you got Colorado, which is not ever lacking a choice of words. It's definitely a clash of different styles. Almost, it's not to this level because Colorado isn't that good yet, and K-State is top 20, but it's not top 10. You know what I was thinking of when I saw this matchup? Remember Catholics versus convicts with Notre Dame against the U back in the late 80s, early 90s? This has a little bit of that feel to it. Like you can't get more opposite on the spectrum than these two programs.
I'm with you there as well. Yeah, no, that's gonna be very good. I think I will go to bed very late Saturday because I'm not gonna miss any of it.
No, you're right. I mean, it's all day. Heck of a Saturday for college football. So now let's pivot. We can talk a little bit about the NFL.
I have one more thing that I would like to talk about on NCAA. My last weekend. What happened? We had like 5 top 11 teams losing against unranked team. And 2 of the top 11 were not playing, with Texas and I believe Georgia didn't play, or who didn't play? Oh, Georgia played. So Texas and someone else didn't play last weekend. And still like 6 of the top 11 lost. It's crazy what happened last week. And that's how unpredictable this year is. And I think it's going to happen more often than not with the new NIL. You have some teams who should not have some players who will start having players. So I think that increased the validity of NCAA in that aspect, that no games is a win, automatic win anymore. And that's the beauty of college football. And so I'm really, really looking forward for what's to come. Last week, we were very set on Alabama, and look, they but at Vanderbilt. So it's pretty sick. And the other upset game that were, I mean, it's very, very interesting. And I would like to have your 2 cents and your opinion about what happened last weekend.
Well, yeah, I think, and for our listeners who may not know, NIL is name and image licensing. So now college players can actually get paid for these things. And so that's why Nick's saying like it's disrupting the whole college landscape because programs who normally wouldn't get certain players can now potentially get them. I think there's 2 things that went through my mind. One was Alabama obviously was hungover from beating Georgia. And the other thing was how many fans of Alabama right now are saying Nick Saban would have never lost to Vanderbilt. So you have the new coach, massive win beating Georgia, and have that letdown like Alabama under Saban. Of course, they would lose games, but they would never have a letdown. This was the first time Vanderbilt beat a number 1 team in the school history. They've been around for a while, Vanderbilt. They're not like something that was just around here for 50 years. They've been around a long time. And to beat Alabama, I mean, hats off to Vanderbilt, but I know some people are probably thinking, oh, right after we thought, hey, it's going to be seamless from Saban to this new coach, Saban would have never lost to Vanderbilt. Never in a million years.
Maybe, but last week was also like a lot of people were worried about Alabama. Not us, of course, because we're talking very highly, but they let Georgia come back from 28 zip in the second. So a lot of people said, oh, Saban would have not let that happen probably, even though I remember a couple of games, definitely Auburn when they lost on the last second.
Oh, yeah, that was a crazy game.
And think so. I think about a couple of games like that, but it's very rare. And De Boer, I really like the coach. I think he has a really nice personality and he has potential to be great at Alabama. But yes, now he will have to make sure that next week, I don't know who they play next week, but I would definitely pick them to win big next week because he needs to really like put the schedule back on track and make sure that the team are responding starting next week. So that's something to think about if you want.
They got South Carolina, but South Carolina could not move the ball at all against Ole Miss. I think they had 3 points. So I agree with you. I think Alabama's playing at home. They're going to punish South Carolina like Pereira did in UFC 307 against that guy in the 4th round. That was brutal. And I think that's what South Carolina is in store for. Sorry, Gamecock fans, but that's not going to be pretty. I think the other thing is, though, you're right. There were a ton of upsets. Tennessee lost in Arkansas. But I think now that the college football playoff is to 12 teams, it doesn't feel as catastrophic. Like, I don't think Alabama, having lost to Vanderbilt, makes them any less of a threat to reach the Final Four like we both predicted. Because of the 12 team, like they could lose the SEC championship, assuming they win the rest of their games up until then. They're going to be in the top 12 and they're going to be dangerous. So I think the loss, having a 12 team playoff helps remove some of the sting of a loss like that. Whereas in the past, with just 4 teams, I'd be really worried if I was in Alabama, but not so much with 12 teams.
They have a tough schedule, though. They go play at Tennessee. I think it's going to be – Tennessee just lost as well, so that's not going to be – Tennessee play without their quarterback also. Don't forget that. But I think that Bama is in a world of trouble personally because they will need to go win at Tennessee, at, I believe, LSU. They have Ole Miss, I think. So they have some very hard game. Then they will play if they go to the SEC championship, they need to win. I think now they are in world of trouble personally, but hey, I don't jump off the bandwagon, but I really think that it's going to be very, very hard now for them to keep track with everything. Same with Georgia. I think it's so hard, the SEC this year. They play Oklahoma as well, I think. So yeah, so there will be a lot of few very, very hard game there. But yeah, to close the loop on NCAA, Miami, the U, 2 games in a row, winning the last second pretty much like unexpected. So
that last game, I thought they were toast. I thought they were done.
I had money on Miami after being down 21-3, I think. I put money on it because I'm like, they're going to come back. But then it got worse before it got better. So I couldn't go to bed. And I think the game finished at 2:45 a.m. It was such a late game. And it was crazy the way they came back. They were down 20 at 11 minutes to play. And then they came back insanely and then won at the end. I mean, the youth twice in a row, that interception that was not a catch, or that catch that was not an interception at the end of the game the week prior, and then now this. So they won both games, but I would still be worried about the future by winning so close game like that. But it showed a resiliency as well. So you can look at both ways. But what a great NCAA season we have. But hey, let's move to NFL.
NFL, a few kind of quick fun facts that I wanted to share. So after last week, one of your favorites, Mr. Aaron Rodgers, joined an exclusive club with passing 60,000 passing yards. So that was kind of a big deal. The other thing was, I wanted to give you, see if you can guess. There have been the 5 highest rated NFL games this year. Involves one team is on multiple of those 5. Actually, 2 teams are multiple of those 5. Can you guess which 2 teams have had games that finished in the top 5 rated so far this year?
I would say Washington.
No. What games in terms of viewer ratings?
Okay, so the game, not the team.
No, the team. Yeah, the teams. Which 2 teams?
Commanders. Washington Commander.
Really? Okay.
I think with Jay Daniels, like a lot of people are willing to look at him. I would definitely say Minnesota Vikings because they have such a huge following. KC because of their following as well. I would say those 3. Am I good somewhere?
Yeah, Kansas City. I was going to say, this is reminding me of the clip where I say you're honestly wrong. So you're honestly wrong with Minnesota and Washington. Yeah, Washington hasn't had any primetime game. So I'll read off I'll give you one mulligan. What you got to guess one other team. I'll give you a hint. They're in the AFC.
Yields?
Nope. All right. So here we go. So this is a good one. So Kansas City's 4 of the top 5 rated games. They've had 4 of their games.
I should have said Cowboys because it's my team and they're definitely there.
Cowboys only had 1. The other team that has had 2 of the top 5 is Baltimore. So Baltimore, Kansas City for the kickoff is the highest rated, 29.2 million viewers. Then Kansas City and the Bengals is second, 27.9. Baltimore and the Cowboys was third, 27.3. Kansas City and Atlanta, 25.1. And Kansas City and the Chargers at 24.2. So they have the following. Dallas did have the 6th one, but I only said top 5. So you don't get credit for the Cowboys. I'm not giving the Cowboys any credit except for I will give them credit for letting me win the first week of the upset pick special. You went against the Packers, and they smited you down by taking care of business with the Rams, and you doubted your Cowboys, and I just had a feeling they would have just enough offense, and they pulled it off.
Hey, congratulations. I can take an L, no problem at all, because you will have a lot of them in the future.
I don't know, buddy. We'll see. So I will say, I got to say something about the Packers, right? So I will say, did you see that pass that Love threw into triple coverage? That it was like a 55-yard bomb and came down with it. That pass was phenomenal. The decision was terrible. He threw it a triple coverage, but the guy just barely missed it. I don't know. That was one of those wow plays. I thought for sure it was picked. I couldn't believe they caught it. That was crazy. So, anyway, I had to put a plug in there for the Packers. All right. So, again, our segment, Upset Picks. This is the second week. Are we doing like golf rules? Do I get to go first because I won last week? Is that how we're going to do it? Or
Yes. I'm looking right now into the schedule because I have two that I really want to pick, but I want to double check another time right now. So go ahead.
all right, my first upset pick. I'm really surprised they're an underdog. It's got to be because of the injuries, but I'm still going with the Colts against the Titans. I think the Colts go into Tennessee and win. And by the way, the upset picks are money line picks for those gamblers, or it's just who we think is going to win. We're not picking the spread. I'm saying outright win. Colts beat Tennessee in Tennessee.
Mine, it's the Cardinals who go win at Packers. I know I was wrong last week, but I really love the Cardinals this year. The way they play, the way that the quarterback is playing at such a high level. They have the running game with Connors. They have the Connor, and then they have of course Harrison Jr. As a wideout. I really think that they are improving week by week, even though they only have 2 wins. But yeah, that's definitely one that I believe will be an upset this weekend.
And here's why you'll be wrong again, is because normally I would say Green Bay going against a mobile quarterback is usually the death knell. But the way they contained Jalen Hurts in the first game of the year in the Eagles gives me hope against Kyler Murray. So we'll see. But I like the Cardinals too, though. I'm not picking them to beat Green Bay, but I do like the Cardinals. I think what they got going is something that's going to turn into something really good. All right. My second one, I'm kind of torn. So I can't remember if I said it on the podcast or I just said it to you. I was actually thinking about picking the Giants to beat the Seahawks last week, and I didn't. I chickened out because of Neighbors being hurt, and I wish I would have stuck with it. There's 2 games that I really – one I think is more –
You just pick one. You can just pick.
I'm going to say the 2 games, but I'm not going to say who I'm going to pick and the third one for the official. So the 2 games are the Buccaneers and Saints and the Bills at the Jets. The Buccaneers are an underdog in New Orleans. The Jets are underdog at home. I'm so tempted because Aaron Rodgers had such a terrible game. I just think that he's going to come back with a vengeance. But I am going to pick the Buccaneers to go into New Orleans, beat the Saints. And I have to say, Baker Mayfield is starting to make me a believer with Tampa Bay. His touchdown to interception ratio is really, really good. He throws for a lot of yardage. He's not making the critically bad decisions and mistakes that's costing the game. I think Baker has found a home. I'm going with the Buccaneers to go into New Orleans and upset David Carr and the Saints.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I was thinking about that one earlier as well, but I had something else that I want to pick instead, so that's good. I will pick Vegas, the Raiders, to beat the Steelers at home as an upset pick. The Steelers cannot score for, if their life depend on it. And the Raiders, they need to have like some kind of game that will prove everybody else wrong. I don't know how, but I'm going for Vegas for my second upset pick.
And are they playing in Pittsburgh or Vegas?
No, they played Vegas.
Oh, okay, that helps. I was going to say that. Man.
And Pittsburgh are favored by 3, which means 6 because the home team always get 3 points. So I really think that Vegas has a real shot to win that game.
All right. Well, hey, we do not shy away at 2 for the win. We take bold takes. I would say that's a bold take, but I like it. I like it. I think you do have a shot on that one. I'm seriously thinking about benching George Pickens in my fantasy football team. Like, they don't have anybody who can throw to him. I just need Adams to stop being hurt, and I can substitute him in for Pickens. I'll be happy.
Yeah, you're right.
Little fantasy plug. By the way, I think I have more bench on my fantasy. I have more points on my bench on my fantasy team than I have my starters. That's not a good thing. That means I made a lot of wrong decisions on my starting lineup.
Yeah. We can talk, so I can give you the rules how it works.
I should play my SpongeBob opposite day. Whatever I think I should do, I should just go the opposite, and then I'll be all right. When it comes to that. Oh, that's such a bummer. I should have won. I lost by 9 points. I had two guys, one with almost 20 points on my bench, the other one almost 30 on my bench.
Plus, the listeners or winner needs to understand what you did. So you dropped Cousins last week.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. He wasn't even on my bench. I straight out dropped him.
He dropped him and then he scored 500 yards. Oh, it's phenomenal.
Just so my listeners know, the reason I dropped Cousins, I have Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels, I'm on the Jaden Daniels bandwagon. I know I talked about him last week. You have a rabid fan base in the Commanders that has just been suppressed over the years because they had an owner who was a knucklehead, and now they have, they just didn't have a good team. But and they play Baltimore. That's going to be, those teams are what, an hour drive from each other, if that. So that's going to be a heck of a game. I'm on the Jaden Daniels bandwagon.
Good sport weekend in perspective.
It is. So winners, hope you enjoyed it. You can keep us honest with some of our picks as we go through it. But again, hope all of you are safe and taking care, and your family and loved ones are safe. So again, please consider helping, whether it's a Red Cross donation or something. There's people in need, but certainly we enjoyed you spending time with us. Hopefully this put a little levity into your day, and we look forward to chatting with you on Monday with our next Monday Mindset. So with that, we'll sign off. Take care, winners. Be well.
Bye, winners.